Hey guys, it's Tinker Taylor and welcome back to the A to Z challenge. It's still a little bit instinctual to say the A to Z build challenge, so every time I say the A to Z challenge it feels like something's missing, and technically it is because that's what the challenge used to be called. But now that I've opened it up to Cass, it's now just the A to Z challenge. So if you've never heard of this challenge before, if you watch any of the videos that have A to Z in them, I will explain it every single time. But gonna do it again just in case you've never seen any of those videos before. But what it is each week you get a new letter and you do a room, a build, or a cast creation based on that letter. You can do one, both, any. I don't care if you want to do a room and a cast, a room and a build and a cast, whatever you want. I really don't mind. It's entirely up to you what you do, and it is also entirely up to you which weeks you do. So yeah, basically the two rules are no CC, and you can do as little or as many weeks as you want. Beyond that, I'm not really fussed. If you want to do anything, that's fine. I do put out suggestions for like, oh, you could do this, you could do that, but they are not like, you have to do this, you have to do that. It is more like, hey, if you're stuck and you don't have any ideas, here are some ideas. But you don't have to do those ideas, you don't have to do that letter. If you don't want to do a letter, you absolutely don't have to. It is entirely up to you guys in what you want to do. So for me, this challenge is in February. I do it in 26 days in February, and I cry every time because I always never start the builds early enough. But for you guys, if you want to participate in this challenge, I run it from July to December, and you get a new build every week. So do not worry about how am I supposed to do a build or a cast in a week. Like how am I supposed in a day, how am I supposed to do that? You've got an entire week. And the best part about it is, as I talk about it all February, and every February I say, if you want to start now, you absolutely can. So if you have ideas of, oh, this would be really cool to do this and that and whatever, and you don't have ideas for some weeks, you absolutely could get started early. And then when you get to the weeks in which you want to do, like, let's say you want to do them all, right? But you can only come up with, let's say, 10 ideas right now. You have from now until whatever letters that you don't know to come up with ideas. But even then, I would have put out ideas for you guys. So if you did want to participate in every week, or if you wanted to participate in every second week or whatever, you've got plenty of time if you want to get started now. If you wanted to do builds, it's a great way to get started on builds. Is to get ahead. Room builds are a lot easier. I've seen some people do room builds where they will sit down in one go. It's usually people who are streaming, but they'll sit down in one go and be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do 3 room builds right now, maybe 4. Let's say they do 4. If you do that a couple of times, you're like halfway through the challenge. Yeah, if you do it a handful of times, you're done the challenge. It's really, that's why I've made sure that, like, if you want to do a room, you absolutely can do a room. It does not have to be a full-blown build. And if you're doing a build that is not just a single room, you could absolutely do tiny builds. That is a-okay. And by room build, I specifically mean the, like, okay, a tiny home. If you were doing a tiny home but you decorate the outside and the garden and all this other stuff, that would be considered a build. A room build is when it is essentially just like a 4x4 square, basically. It doesn't have to be 4x4, but yeah, basically a room where usually you cut out 2 walls and you just decorate that space, and it's just one room, and that's it. That there's nothing really much beyond that. But I'm not going to be super fussy. If you do a tiny home and you want it to be a room, like a room entry, then sure, whatever. But to be fair, the build challenges, the build side of it, it's the build side of it, and the cast side is the cast side. So with the cast as well, if you want to do an animal, you can absolutely do that. So let's say for H you decide to do horse. That's fine. If you can make it in cast, it can be entered. Obviously, try not to make things that are a bit questionable, but you know, if you wanted to build, create, make, design, I don't know how this works, but you know, for W, if you want to do werewolf, you absolutely could do a werewolf. For M, you could do a mermaid. I know mermaid isn't an animal, but like these are ideas of like, yes, they're within the game, but you also could make them. But if you wanted to, let's say, make a raccoon, technically there's no raccoons in the game. You could make one. If you really wanted to, you could try and make some Australian animals. I don't know how you'd do that, but go nuts, go wild. If you can figure out how to do it, that'd be great. I'd love to see, like, I've seen people do zebras. That's cool. That's pretty cool. So yeah, definitely go have fun with it. That's the basis of the whole challenge. Is it's supposed to get you outside your comfort zone and having you build something brand new that you've never built before. I, for one, have never built an opera house. When I first put that on my list of things to build, I was thinking, like, is it possible for me to build the Sydney Opera House? And then immediately I went, even if it is possible, that is a lot of work. I don't think I have the time nor patience for that. Just gonna build something a little simpler. And not gonna lie to you guys, I built this yesterday, so I'm very glad that I did build something simple. I ended up Googling, what did I Google? Looking up Italian opera houses, I believe, and I got the exterior of this one, and not exactly this one, but something very similar to this one, and I loved it. I thought it looked absolutely amazing. So yeah, I kind of had a little bit of fun with it. I did try some round rooms, as you can see here, but I will not lie to you guys, I immediately gave up. I probably spent maybe 10 minutes on it, but yeah, immediately gave up because round rooms are just painful and take up way more room than I thought they did. But anyway, yeah, it is a very, very small build, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys, it's because I built it yesterday. And today, I am going to be building tomorrow's build, and it's going to be a lot smaller and emptier than what I planned it to be. It's going to be a shell. I'm absolutely set on that, because that way I can make it a little bit bigger on the outside. So the inside's going to be completely blank and empty. But, you know, that's fine, I guess, question mark. I don't know, sometimes I hate leaving things empty, but at the same time, yeah, look, time-wise, it makes more sense. And then the one after that, the one after that, I'm going to make much smaller. I don't have to make that one necessarily big, and it actually kind of makes more sense making it small in my head. It makes more sense for it to be a smaller build. And then, yeah, after that, I don't think there's any other builds that necessarily have to be big. So, yeah, there's going to be a couple of days where I just get in and smash out some builds, hopefully. And I'm hoping today is one of them. Today, I'm hoping to work through tomorrow's build and then get started on the day after that. I had a schedule of yesterday of like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then I got a little bit distracted, and then suddenly it was 9 p.m. So, you know, not at all what I was aiming for, but hopefully today that doesn't happen again. I don't know, I get really thrown off by time sometimes. I guess with, you know, because on my side of the world right now, we are having longer days, that my brain kind of forgets that, like, okay, yes, I'm eating dinner and it is daylight hours, sometimes, but that doesn't mean that we're having early dinner. It just means that it's still daylight, and that's kind of insane. Anyway, yeah, look, essentially, I just want to build. I just want to build a lot, and then I get a little bit distracted by my phone, but thankfully I have not been distracted by it today very much. What I did get distracted by today, though, was language learning. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I went on like an hour research on the connectivity of languages, and if I were to learn this language, what's the likelihood of me being able to be understood in these parts of the world and whatnot. And yeah, pretty much if I learn, depending on which languages I learn, but up to about 5, I could be very, not very, but just very basic in a lot more languages. I could get by in very poor communication skills in a lot of countries, in a lot of other languages, which I find quite fascinating. And the sites that I used to look these up were showing me some languages that were like, oh, if you speak this language, you will be passable in this language. Like, you'll understand parts of it. And I'm like, I've never heard of that language before. And I look it up and it's like, oh yeah, only 12,000 people speak it. So, you know, the fact that learning a major, well-known language could help me learn a very small one, like, that's cool. That's pretty good. I don't mind that. And I guess the thing that really got me into this was, I've been watching, at the moment, a lot of spy documentaries. I don't know what got me into that. I think I just saw one and I started watching it, and then I started seeing more and just started watching more. But the long and the short of it is, a lot of these spy situations require you to learn other languages. And yeah, I hang out with a couple of people on Twitch. I say a couple of people. I hang out in a few different streams and whatnot. And yeah, in one of them, someone was saying that they knew, I think it was like 4 languages and was passable in a 5th. But the 5th that they were passable in was like, oh, well, yeah, it's this language, but it also means I'm passable in all these languages. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like, the fact that you can sit there and be like, okay, yeah, I know these languages, but because I know these ones, they kind of intersect and connect and help me be passable. Like, that's so cool. So yeah, and then I realized I've learned languages throughout my lifetime. I've learned Spanish, I've learned French, I've learned Japanese, I've learned Latin, and if I had stuck with them, that would have been 5 languages, because the 5th is obviously English. But that would have been 5 languages that I already knew, that I know. And to be fair, Japanese I did for a fair while, a very, very fair while. But I don't remember anything from it. To be fair, I learnt it mostly in primary school. But yeah, I just never stuck with it. So I think I'm gonna go back and revisit some languages. I think it'd be really super cool to be able to understand and communicate with a broader range of people. It also means, this is my main reason, and it's kind of I don't want to say lazy, but lazy, is that when I'm listening to documentaries about the world, not all documentaries will translate. If someone's speaking in their native tongue or like another language or whatever, they will not always translate it, and sometimes I will have to read I was gonna say transcript, but that's not the word, the subtitles. And I like to listen to things. I do like watching things, don't get me wrong, absolutely love watching things, but I prefer to listen to things. And if I could understand that language, even if it was passable and I didn't get 100% of the context, it's still, like, passable. You know, a lot of the ones I'm watching now, like I said, are spy ones, but sometimes they're just, like, a history of whatever country, you know. This particular place here has this cool thing about that, and I want to watch it, and it's mostly in another language, and okay, cool, now I need to watch it instead of just listen to it. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you could call it lazy if I'm willing to learn a whole other language just to listen to something instead of having to stop and read and watch. But I don't know. You could argue it both ways. I've also always been interested in other languages. That's just something that I think would be super... Like, I'm very fascinated by other languages, and I think a lot of them are quite beautiful in their own ways. Some of them are very melodic. I think that's the right word. I don't know. There's a beautiful tempo and whatnot to them. And and that's not just like the romantic languages around the world. I find quite a lot of languages to be very encapsulating. I don't think that's the right word. Very fascinating and yeah, I would love to be able to understand. And also, I think it would be better for travel. Most of the places I've travelled... Actually, you know what? Most of the places I travel, yes, there's English-speaking people within those countries, but I don't think English is the main... Okay, I've been to New Zealand. New Zealand, definitely, you can go there and people speak English. That is, like, one of the main languages. Not the main language. There's many languages I understand within New Zealand. I know Maori is one of them. But, yeah, English is... I'm almost positive everybody learns English there. It's, yeah, a very mainstream language there, but other places that I've been... It's less so mainstream, and I don't like the concept of like, oh, you know, everyone knows English. Not everybody does know English. There are places where people don't know English, and if I want to travel there, I should probably know how to speak the language. It also just makes it a lot easier if you're traveling and you can read the signs and you can read like menus and stuff like that. You know, like a lot of people when they go traveling, they'll look up conversion rates of money. They're not just gonna go there and be like, yes, this is the money, and I don't know what that means in terms of my money, but you know, you understand the money so that you know how it works. Like, are you being ripped off? Is it expensive? Is it cheap? Can you afford to do these things? But like, people don't do that for the language, and it's the country you go. Like, you probably should have some sort of understanding of the language that you're going to, the country, the language of the country that you're going to. That's just my belief. But yeah, to be honest, the countries I've been to, I went as a child, so I don't hold children to the same standard as that. Like, if you're a child and you don't know the language, you're probably not the one paying for it to go there, like to go to that country. So yeah, sure. You don't have to know language, but yeah, if you're an adult, at least learn some of the language. That's just my opinion. I think it's I saw someone say something about like, I can't remember what phrase they used, but basically it's if you speak English, you use it as an excuse to not learn other languages when you visit because everyone knows it. But yeah, I'm of the opinion, no. If you're going to an area, learn a little bit of the language at least. Just enough that you, if you are in an emergency situation, that you can take care of yourself. That is the main thing I'm worried about. If you're if you are in an emergency situation and you can't take care of yourself, that's what I worry. That's my main worry. Like, learn how to ask for an ambulance or like direction, like where to find hospital, like how can I find a hospital, things like that. That's I this is what I mean by like not conversation, but like things that you should know. You know, if you want to visit a certain area, like a certain, like let's say you're going to visit I can't think of anything in the world ever. Okay, let's say you're going to visit the Great Wall of China. Pick like how to get, like how do I get to this place? How do I get to here? That's a great thing to learn. I mean, yes, you'll probably get the instructions back in another language, but if you're struggling in a language and the person knows how to speak English, they will probably start speaking English to you. But if they don't know how to speak English and they see that you're struggling, they can be like, this is okay. I don't speak English. You don't speak whichever dialect of Mandarin or Cantonese or whatever, and you guys can kind of figure it out from there. But also at the same time, we do have like apps that will translate what you're saying, which I know that you could just speak into the phone and it speak back and whatever and translate back and forward, but I don't like the idea of relying on technology for everything. Certain things, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I rely on technology to be able to share these videos with you guys. I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to play The Sims without it. I would have to go out and find these materials to build these mini places and whatnot, and that I definitely rely on technology for this. Absolutely. This, sure. Like, and I know in, like, medical sense, technology absolutely needed. Educational sense, technology is definitely extremely helpful and whatnot. But yeah, learning a language and being able to speak it, I don't know, I feel like that's how languages die. If you just expect everyone to know what you speak, or, yeah. Anyway, I think I've rambled on enough about language. Probably should start talking about this build a little bit. So, yeah, like I said before I went on that weird ramble, I originally wanted to build something like the Opera House here in Australia. I've only ever visited a handful of times. I've never been inside the Sydney Opera House. I believe I have been to it twice, but been past it a couple more times than that. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny because I've spoken to people. I've lived all up and down the east coast of Australia. I still live on the east coast. I'm not going to say where, but yeah, somewhere on the east coast. And I've spoken to people who have lived in the different states and even the territory of Canberra. Canberra's the capital of the ACT, sorry. Anyway, I've spoken to people from these places, and people who were born and raised specifically in the Sydney area, to them, like the Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge and all that, they don't even think about how special that is. Whereas other people outside of the state are like, it's so special. Like, are you kidding me? If I lived there, I would go and visit all the chances I could get and this and that and whatever. And it's quite interesting because I feel like how would people in other countries, like, if you lived near Big Ben, would you feel the same way that Sydney people feel about Sydney Opera House? Or is it something like, for me, I've never even been to England. I've never been to a majority of countries, so I've not seen a lot of different things. I've not seen a lot of different world icons, I guess. When people put things on maps that are, I guess, hotspot tourist destinations for that particular country, the number one thing for Australia is the Sydney Opera House. And like I said, I've been there a handful of times, seen it a handful of times. I've seen it online and in pictures and stuff like that a bajillion times. It's nothing new to see that way, but to be there in person, it's very different. But yeah, like things like Big Ben or a lot of the pyramids in Egypt. Egypt's not the only country to have pyramids, but that is probably the most well-known thing Egypt is known for. Like Egypt, the pyramids, the Nile, the Sphinx. I've never seen any of that, and to see that would be quite amazing. And anything else in the world, like it's not just those big mainstream things. Like there are a lot of lesser known things I definitely want to go see as well. And I would love to know, like, if you live near a tourist attraction or something that is special within your country, is it special to you? Is it something that is it something that you're like, wow, like every time you see it, it's just amazing? Or is it something like the first couple of times you saw it was like, yeah, wow, but now you're like, whatever? Because I feel like if I went and saw the Sydney Opera House again, it would not be as special and magical as the first time I saw it. I was a kid the first time I saw it. And I guess everything's a lot more magical when you're a kid, but as an adult, having a better understanding of like how it got there and the architecture behind it and all this other things, like there's a lot more that I know about it now, so maybe it would hold a different kind of special meaning to me as an Australian. I don't know. These are things that I think about sometimes. But anyway, I say we a lot, like there's a team of us building and editing and whatnot. No, this is all just me. I'm a one-man show, a one-woman show, a one-person show. This is just me. Sometimes my cat, she'll hang out and kick the keyboard and keep me alive, but yeah, look, I really had a lot of fun with this build. It's something that it was, again, like this whole challenge is to be different and do something you've never really done before, and this challenge really holds that for me. It is something that I've just never really done before. It's interesting and curious, and I love this challenge for that reason. I love the fact that I can just jump in and do something weird and wacky and different. And yes, I've got the Pokemon Build series, and that's helping me come up with ideas that are weird and wacky and different and things I've never really done before. But this is like, I feel like it's because I'm using CC. It's just so out there and different. The Pokemon Build series, I don't use CC. I even pack restrict there as well. But here it's like I could do whatever I want, however I want. Like, there's no limitations here. I can build as big or as small or as wild or crazy, pretty or ugly as I want. Like, I could do anything. And I love that. I love that about this challenge. It's just so, I guess, freeing is the best word I can put out there. Like, how many of you guys have built an opera house before? I mean, there's probably a fair few of you out there, but this is my first time. I love that this challenge exists, and there's such weird and different things that you can do with it. It's honestly and thoroughly enjoyable. That's the best way for me to put it. I love this challenge. And yeah, I love seeing people get in and being a part of it and learning about this, that, or the other, and getting comfortable with their own build styles or getting out there and doing something different. And I love this. I think if I wasn't doing the Pokemon Build series, I would just become a CC builder. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I would. Because look at it. It's so, like, it just makes the builds look so much better. I do recognize, though, that means that, people can't really use and play the game. You use and download and play with the builds. But that's why, part of the reason why I build is so that people can play with these builds, and they can't really do that if I am restricting the abilities of people to play with these builds. So yeah, I'm trying to build for me and be happy in what I build and enjoying what I do, but also keeping in mind that yes, other people will play this game and want to be able to use these items as well. So yeah, definitely trying to balance everything out just a little bit better. But yeah, definitely let me know your opinions on CC. I know some people love it, some people hate it, but you have to admit it does make builds look so much better. It makes it so much easier to build with. But also, we're up to it now, but the landscaping in this build, oh my goodness, I don't know why I've struggled so much. This was so easy. I did kind of cheat and use all of the build, the landscaping items that are around in this world, but like, I think I did pretty good. Let me know down below when you see the finished results of this landscaping. Do you love it? Do you hate it? I feel okay about it. Like, it's not anything that everybody would look at and be like, wow, you're the best ever. But if you know my struggles with with landscaping, then you might look at it and go, you know what? You did good, kid. You did good. Are you the best landscaper out there? Absolutely not. It's still terrible. But you did really well, and I'm very proud of you. That's how I feel looking at this. If you hate it, you can absolutely tell me you hate it. But yeah, if you have any tips or tricks on how to improve, I would love to hear them. Because yeah, like I said, not really a comfortable landscaper, not very good at it. So yeah, I basically just have fun with it, honestly. I go around and try and figure it out, and most of the time I hate it, but when I don't, I purposely talk about how I like it so that I encourage myself to become a better landscaper. But anyway, we are getting very close to the end of this video. If you have enjoyed my ramblings, which is very typical and very normal, so if you've never heard me do that before, if you've never heard any of my videos, that is the norm. But if you've enjoyed it, definitely let me know by subscribing. I come out with new video every single day except the last 2 days of February, because the challenge is over and I want to give myself some time to rest and relax. But yeah, until the next one, I will see you guys then. Bye guys.